had a job since I was a teenager. I'm 23 years old and I've been a full-time content creator for some years now and an entrepreneur. And I just want to tell you, it's not all cracked up what you think it is. It's not all glitz and glamour. And I know you guys probably heard that before, but there are actually things that make individuals no longer want to be content creators. And I don't know, me myself, I was kind of scared to create this video because I know people were gonna like judge me for it, but I just want to tell you guys about some of the things that I struggle with as a content creator, and I know other content creators struggle with, because I know nowadays everyone wants to be an influencer, everyone wants to be a content creator, but there's also dark sides to it and bad sides to it that individuals don't talk about and or know about. And one of the first things is being lonely. And I know some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, are you serious? That's what you're complaining about. But you have to understand, especially if you don't have any like entrepreneur or content creator friends, and especially for the people that are saying, oh, I want to move to a new state or I want to move to a new city, like it is very lonely. And I wish that was something that more individuals talk about, or more individuals spoke about, like how lonely it is and how many things that, you know, you go through things by yourself. And so and emphasizes everything. It makes everything more dramatic. It makes everything essentially worse. Like imagine, first and foremost, you're going to still experience things. I don't want you to think that like, oh, once you become a content creator or influencer, life is going to be glitz and glamour. You're still going to experience things. But imagine experiencing all those things by yourself. Like on a day-to-day basis, it's you. You have to figure out what kind of content you create. You have to motivate yourself to do some of these things. It's all you. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, like I really be wishing I had coworkers. Like I really be wishing I had people to talk to about what's going on during my day, and you know, what am I feeling, or just opinions about things. And don't get me wrong, you can call up your friends, you know, if you do have friends from just when you were younger, but I feel like sometimes you like lack that idea of like adult friendship, if that makes any sense. Like don't get me wrong, it's okay to love your friends from when you were younger, but I feel like when you start getting older and you make friends, you start making friends based upon like where you're going in life, right? When you're young, it's based upon proximity. When you're older, a lot of times it's based upon you work in similar jobs or you have similar goals, aspirations and stuff. And so it's like you lack that older friendship of individuals. Like the only friends that you have are people that you knew before. And like I said, it's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I do wonder like what friends I would have if I worked somewhere, just people to talk about stuff with. And I know some people would be like, oh, well, I hate my boss, and I this and I that, but like even having a coworker to talk about that with, like having coworkers that being like, you know what, we had a long day at work, let's go to happy hour, or we had this happen, or we had that happen, let's talk about it in the break room. Like when I go through things with content creation, because we go through things as well, or when I go through things just in general in a day, it's me. Like it's all me. And I don't know how to put it into words, but like it's very lonely. And one of the things that, you know, I wish would have happened is I kind of do wish I would have started working first and then I got into content creation, because due to the fact that like I had my last job when I was 19, and then I kind of got into content creation and entrepreneurship by the time I was 20 full time, like I never was able to build those kind of friendships. And I feel like that's one thing that like people want to become content creators really fast, and people want to get into content creation especially really young nowadays. And one thing I do tell people is like appreciate where you are now. Like appreciate the people that you have now, appreciate you get the moments that you have now, because I promise you it's going to be so lonely and you're going to go through so many things by yourself. And any feeling that you feel, especially bad feelings, is going to feel 10 times worse, and the happy feelings that you have sometimes are not even going to feel sometimes as fulfilled, because you don't have people to share it with to a certain extent. Like you do have your friends, you do have your family, but like on a day-to-day, if that makes any sense, like you don't really have individuals to share certain things with, and then you just get so used to being by yourself and so used to being alone. And honestly, there are certain things that like I should have congratulated myself about, but I didn't. And I'm glad like some of my friends you know, when I go back home and stuff, like they are encouraging of me. Like even when I hit 100K on TikTok, like I didn't celebrate it. I didn't do anything for it. I didn't care. But mind you, that was a goal of mine for so long. But I'm so used to dealing with everything by myself and just being so like isolated that I just didn't care. And then I literally almost cried, because when I had went back home to my hometown, my friends bought me like a little cake and it said, congratulations for 100K. And it's like people actually like celebrated me. You get what I'm saying? And I know it sounds like, girl, are you serious? But like it felt good. And I realized moments like that I really missed out on, for the simple fact that like I mentally isolate myself because I'm always so physically isolated. And I feel like that's something that people don't. It's really hard to understand, and it sounds so like, that sounds like, it just sounds like I'm privileged or whatever the case may be, but like, no, it's a real thing and it really affects your mental health. Like isolation, I talked about it in a previous video, isolation literally can cause so many negative effects to your mental health. And being a content creator is very isolating, especially because not many people have content creator friends and entrepreneurship friends. And then going into, having friends and celebrating things, one thing it also makes you lack is your purpose. That's something that a lot of people want to get to content creation based simply on the fact that they feel like they don't have to work. They feel like, oh, I don't want to work and I don't want to do this. Now, one thing I can tell you is you want to work. I know you may say you don't. You do want to work, because if you do not work, you do not have a purpose. And I know for some people it may be like, oh, but I don't care about this and I don't care about that. But yes, you do. You want a reason to wake up. You want to, other than yourself, because like we got to be honest with ourselves. We don't care about ourselves as much as we care about other things or other people. Like if your dog had an ear infection and the vet told you you have to drop ear drops inside your dog's ear every day for a month or 3 weeks, or your dog might go deaf, you're gonna do it. But when it comes to ourselves, there's basic things that we probably vitamins we should be taking and basic things like that. We don't do it for ourselves. Like it's so much easier for us to care for other people and take care of other people than it is for us to take care of ourselves. And we see that on a day-to-day basis. And so I say that to say, when your whole life is based upon just you, it kind of feels purposeless. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like I am appreciative of what I do when I did work to get here and different things like that. But at the same time, sometimes it's just like, I feel like, what is my purpose? Like, what do I give to other individuals? How do I, when I wake up in the morning, what can make me feel like, you know what, this is why I need to get work done. This is why I need to do this. And I feel like that's one of the things that people lack when it comes to content creation, is a feeling of purpose, especially when you're just getting into it simply just to become a content creator. Like you don't have a real intent for your content. You lack purpose. And that's why I often tell individuals, like, you should just be recording and or talking about and or personifying the things that you already do and the person that you already are. What messes a lot of people up is they try to create content, right? They try to create content and become content similar to an actor, and it makes you lose your purpose, because it's like, it's not you. It doesn't make sense for you. It doesn't make you happy. And I say that to say, like, we all need purpose. We all want purpose. There's a reason why you wake up in the morning. There's a reason why you go hard. And when you don't feel like you have a purpose, oftentimes you may feel like, I know it sounds counterintuitive, like you're purposeless. Like what is the point of you even being here? And I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes I do feel like that. Like when I wake up in the morning, it's just like, oh, let me just record a video, let me do this video. And it's like, I am grateful that, like, it don't get me wrong, I did work to get here. Like I created content for years until I got to the point that I was able to, do it full time. But at the same time, now that I am at this point, sometimes I do ask myself, like, what is my purpose in life? Like, what am I supposed to give to life? And what is the reason for me waking up? Especially because I ain't got no kids. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't got no kids. And sometimes I know kids help a little bit too. But it makes you feel purposeless. And then going into that, I also feel like it goes into like you becoming too addicted to content. That's another struggle that it is, because sometimes it's like you don't know when you're looking for ideas, or when you're, get what I'm saying, like turning off work and just being a regular content consumer. Sometimes I can find myself just looking for just content to watch, just stuff to watch and stuff to whatever. And then I end up saying, oh, that's content. Oh, this could be content. And then it's like my content is so sometimes dictated based upon what's going well or what I see other people doing well in. And sometimes I feel like it makes me lose myself. Like sometimes I do regret, like I said before, becoming a content creator full time so young without having experience, because it makes me feel like, was my life really supposed to be like this to a certain extent? I say that to say, they say when you're 25, that's when you, like, your frontal lobe or your frontal cortex or whatever comes in, when you kind of fully stop developing. And sometimes I often ask myself, like, I feel like I was supposed to develop more. I feel like I was supposed to talk to more people. I feel like I was supposed to experience more than just the four walls of my house. Because it's oftentimes what you do as a content creator. Like, you're in control of everything. And I know to some people, it's like, that's what I want to be. I want to be in control. But like, certain times you don't want to be in control. You get what I'm saying? Certain times you want things to just have to be a certain way, if that makes any sense. Like, when you're in control of everything, it's like you don't have experience to grow, because you're dictating everything. You get what I'm saying? I feel like when you have a little bit less control, that's when you have to sometimes be uncomfortable. That means sometimes you do have to do things that you may not want to do, or you may not tried before, talk to people you wouldn't have talked to before. Like, think about having a job. Like, I was 15, 16 working at McDonald's, friends with 45-year-old housewives. There was a group of housewives that were managers at the McDonald's that I worked at, simply because they used to be bored at home all day and their husbands worked. Like, why would I be? And we were so, like, they bought me Christmas presents. It was crazy. I would never be friends with them. And so it's stuff like that. And so it's like, I got to talk to them. There are people from other cultures, other backgrounds that I got to talk to and I got to learn from, and experiences I got to have because of that. That now I often ask myself, like, am I really developing it sounds weird, but like, am I really developing as much as I'm supposed to? Because my experiences are dictated upon me. If I don't want to talk about something, I don't have to. If I don't want to do something, I don't have to. But like, you grow when you're uncomfortable. But my whole job is to make me comfortable. My whole job is to do things that are dictated around me. And it sounds great, but it sometimes makes me wonder, like, did I cut myself short? And it just sometimes, even when it comes to content, like, I feel like it makes me lose a lot of creativity, because the only thing I'm seeing is the content that I'm consuming. You get what I'm saying? I'm not really going outside too much unless it's a specific intent of doing something. I'm not really, you get what I'm saying, experiencing things. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like sometimes the quality of my life isn't what it should be, if that makes any sense, simply because it's like, I dictate everything. And as much as I love the idea of that, because I can say I am a control freak, and I'm very stubborn. I'm a Taurus gang. It just makes me wish, or just think, like, how differently my life would be if I was able to, like, not be in control of everything. And sometimes I had to do uncomfortable things, and sometimes I had to do things that were outside my norm, or talk to different people. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, with that, it also becomes like, your life becomes your content, and then you can't turn it off. Everything becomes content. Everything becomes this. Everything becomes that. And I don't know. I just also don't find that to be effective as well for me, because since I got to it so young, like I said, and that's what a lot of people want to do. They want to be content creators so young, at 19 and 18 and 17. It's kind of like, your content is based upon you. Like I said, it's you recording, it's you talking, it's you curating. But it's like, if you don't have that much life experience, you don't have that much to talk about. And sometimes I even think in my content, like, I'm redundant. And sometimes in my content, I don't know what to necessarily talk about or do. But like I said earlier, you're just supposed to be recording the person that you already are. Like, that's really what a content creator is supposed to be. You're recording your life. You're showing people your life, for the things you like talking about and the things you like doing. But sometimes I feel like I cut myself short because I started so young that I wasn't able to really experience life, to really give people valuable things. Like, a lot of the things, don't get me wrong, everything I talk about on here, like, I read a book about or a podcast about, but it's like, it's always me forcing myself to consume something. Like, it's sad, but like, a lot of little stuff that I talk about on my YouTube channel, my TikTok, anything like that, is experience. And everybody knows experience is the best stuff. And sometimes it makes me feel like a textbook. Like, I know all this stuff and I can talk about all this stuff, but I don't experience it. Even on a form of talking about it and having a conversation with somebody about it. Like, just like now, I'm doing it through a channel. I'm doing it to individuals who, hopefully you guys comment and give your opinions, but like, we can't have a dialogue back and forth. We're not talking to each other. Y'all not right next to me. And it makes me feel like that about my content as well. Like, sometimes the stuff I create, I feel like it becomes very cookie cut. And a lot of people, I feel like they create very cookie cut content, and they just try to copy people who is making good content, and who's, you know what I'm saying, and who's doing well, simply based upon the fact that, like, we all subconsciously kind of cause ourselves to become actors. Because if you do it too young without the experience of life, you lack experience. And if you don't have experience, what are you going to talk about? So there's that as well. Another thing too, as far as becoming too dependent as far as your content for thinking, also with money too. I think I've been in spaces before where it's like, the money was kind of low, right? And so I had to figure out how to make content. What should I make content about? What's doing well? And then sometimes it just becomes a thing of you can't even make content that you truly want to make content about, and you truly want to make content for. It's simply, you just have to figure out what makes money. What is going to make me money right now? What are topics that are popular? What are things that are this? What are things that are that? And that's why I say I wish I would have, worked and then got into content creation, instead of, as soon as I made enough money to leave my job, I was like, let me become a content creator. Like, I wished I wasn't so dependent upon the money, because once you become dependent upon the money, it becomes a cycle. Right? So it's like you have to keep creating certain kind of content. You have to, and if you start off your content based upon the wave, based upon what's hot, based upon people are doing, you're always going to have to keep up with that. Contrary to if you have a job and then you do content on the side and you build it up slowly, but you have that job to depend on. You have that, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to depend on your content. You can make content about anything. You can make content about whatever, because it's you. And you're not, if the video does well, it does well. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But people are always going to relate to you. Like, a lot more people relate to you than you would think. And I say that to say you can slowly build it up and not be dependent upon it to do well. Contrary to me, like, I literally will go crazy sometimes if my content didn't do well, because now this is my bread and my butter. And yes, I mean, of course, with any job, you want to do well, but I feel like I wish I waited a bit. I wish I was more concrete in how much money I was making outside of content creation, concrete in, that my consistent following, contrary to just soon as I got enough money going into it. That's another thing I would tell people to do. Like, even when you feel like you are making enough money, use that extra money from content creation to put it into like a Roth IRA, which is like, investing the money, like doing extra things with the money. Don't necessarily look at it like, okay, this is my bread and butter. This is going to be the money that pays all my bills. Like, for a little bit, you could use that money as money on the top, or maybe if you want to just do extra things here and there with your friends, use that money as that. But don't have the mindset of, oh, as soon as you start making a good amount of money, or you start even making a kind of money, even making more money than your job in a month or two, like, don't feel like, oh, well, I've been making more money than my job in 2 months. Keep that job. Keep that stability so you don't have to depend on your content as much. And another thing I definitely tell people you have to do is diversify your portfolio. Diversify what you do. So right now I'm doing YouTube, but I wanted to do YouTube honestly because I talk a lot. And like I said, I don't have nobody to really talk to. So we're here with it. But yeah, going on different platforms. You shouldn't only be on one platform. I also do something called UGC, which is user generated content, just diversifying your income. But sometimes that can become a thing too. When you're too dependent upon it, then it becomes a thing of you having, you get what I'm saying, having to diversify your income. Like, I always tell people, have the mindset that you're already where you want to be and just work like that. And obviously, you're going to fall short sometime, but that's why you have your job. Contrary to if you want to quit your job real quick, you quit your job too fast, you just become too dependent. And now it's like, there was a time where I was making real good money on Pinterest. It was first on Pinterest. I'm making really, really, really good money on Pinterest. That messed up. Now I'm running a TikTok. I was making really, really, really good money on TikTok. And then something happened with that. So then I went to UGC. And then it just became a thing of me having to worry and me having to stress, when it wouldn't have been like that if I would have did what I was supposed to do in the beginning, which is diversify my portfolio, post on different platforms, repurpose content, right? If you're posting something on TikTok, you probably could also post that on YouTube Shorts. You probably also could post that on Instagram Reels. Like, there's things that you can do that definitely can help you. And that's just something that I wished I would have done as well. Another thing people have to acknowledge is like not having security. That's another thing that can sometimes be scary, because don't get me wrong, you can make money as a content creator, but at the same time, it's kind of like there's no security in it, contrary to a job. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes with a job, there's no security as well, but a job is kind of like, if you work a certain amount of hours, you sign a contract to make a certain amount of money. Like, as a content creator, it's a double-edged sword, because you could work a lot of hours and make a little bit of money, or you could work a little bit of hours and make a lot of money. But it's like, sometimes you want that security of knowing how much you're going to make. Sometimes you want that security of knowing you create something or you do something and you're going to benefit from it. I've created videos before, edited them, did all this work for them, and they didn't do anything. And then I've created other videos and didn't do much, and the video did well and I made money and profited from it. So I think that's another thing too people have to acknowledge, which is scary. It's like there's no security behind it. And then sometimes you may have a really, really, really good month, and then sometimes your months aren't so good, which is why it's also good to like have a savings and, like I said before, have a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, have a job where you can depend on that job. You're not dependent on your content. And then also people have to acknowledge the security of having job history. Like, you have to realize, like, if this content thing doesn't work out, and even for me, I've been doing this for now, I haven't had a job since I was 19 turning 20. I'm about to be 24. And it's like, if someone looks at my resume, they're gonna be like, so What happened all these, like, what, were you in jail? Like, what is this big chunk of missing time? And it's like, well, as a content creator, and some jobs may say, wow, so you know how to create content, you know how to this, you know how to that. But some jobs may say, oh, next. So you have to acknowledge that as well. Like, yeah, you may be a content creator for 5, 6, 7 years, but what if something happens? And like I said before, if the longer you're sometimes in it and you curate it without having a real life previous to it, it may be harder for you to know what to talk about and for you to create content about. And I feel like that's kind of where I am right now. And it does make it scary. I'm gonna acknowledge, y'all, it makes it very much so scary. Like, what am I gonna talk about? And I guess now I'm trying to be more personable and trying to share more, but I mean, you never know. You know what I'm saying? You never know how things are going to go when you don't have that security of like, okay, well, I can just get a job. I mean, I can to a certain extent. I have built up my resume to show people, you know, I know how to do different things in the field and as far as marketing and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's just like there are some people that will acknowledge it as being resourceful and there are some people that may look at me like a joke, and I have to respect that. Respect both, because I don't really have a job history. I don't really have a proven thing of but showing people me. So it's like it's easy to show people, oh, I did this for me and I grew this account for me and I became this. But then it's like, but can you do this for my company? We don't care about what you did for you. People may just find you pretty. People may just find you funny. People may find you whatever. Can you do this for this business? Can you do this for this other person? Can you show you're a valuable individual contrary to just for yourself? And when you're so focused on just growing your account, and also another thing too is when you don't appreciate the journey, I can honestly say like sometimes when it came to like growing my account, certain things I missed because I was so ready to get to 10,000 followers. Once I got to 10,000 followers, I wanted to get to 20,000. Once I got to 20,000, I wanted to get to 50,000. And I did hit all these marks, but then I was so focused on the number that it was hard to reproduce the success because I wasn't focused on how did I get there. I was just trying so many different things, and if something worked, something worked, something didn't. But I was trying so many different things and I didn't really appreciate the journey, that it does make it a thing of like, well, can you reproduce this? Can you reproduce that? And it's like looking back at it, how did this happen, or how did this go? Contrary to if you're actually putting effort into what you do, you genuinely enjoy what you do. You get what I'm saying? You genuinely are doing it not because you got to make a few dollars to pay your rent, but because you already got your rent money. You just want to make, you know, start a little something on the side. It's like you can notice markers, things that help things do well, things that didn't do well, things that, you get what I'm saying? Contrary to you feeling like, I need to pay my rent. I need to get to here. I need to get to there. Like you don't appreciate the journey as much, and it's hard to duplicate it and replicate it and honestly make yourself a valuable individual, contrary to just your content, but also building a resume and possibly helping others. So that's something as well. I say all this to say I do appreciate what I do. Like I'm not trying to sound like, oh my gosh, you know, I make all this money and I don't care and I make all this money and I'm like trying to just be a complainer. But I just feel like sometimes content creators aren't allowed to complain. We're not allowed to say what we go through. We're not allowed to say our struggles simply based upon the fact that people are like, we're lucky. And I guess some people could define it as lucky if they want, but I've maybe if you guys want, I'll share my story for content creation. I've been doing it for years before I actually became a content creator. But then once I got into it, once I start making money, I was able to make enough money to really become a full-time content creator in 3 months, 4 months. So I became a full-time content creator really fast, but I had kind of been learning it on the side for years. But then when I finally dove in and really started doing it, I mean, it happened like that. It really happened fast for me. And there were some things, hiccups that happened along the way that just me also being young, like I told you guys, I was 20, well 19, 20, and there are things that I wish I would have done. You know, I wish I would have held on to my job and for different reasons, not just for income, like I said, for even building relationships. Like there's a sense of loneliness that I feel, even if people do tell you, oh, I go to Pilates or I go to, you know, this or I go to that. It's kind of like, yeah, you go to those classes, but like you don't really talk to those people. Like you don't talk to them the same way you talk to a coworker. You don't talk to them, you get what I'm saying, the same way you talk to somebody that you see on a consistent basis and you guys have the same intent of the place, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I do love my job. I do enjoy my job and I am grateful for being here. But sometimes I do look at it in the long-term perspective of like, what is my life gonna look like in 5-10 years? Even if I do make more, and I look at it, I try to think delusionally, right? I think about me making millions of dollars and stuff like that all the time. But even with that, like I think of the quality of my life, like the amount of people, who am I going to interact with? Who am I going to share this life with? Like it's so easy to want to be a big influencer and want to get brand trips and get all these PR packages, but it's like, but at the end of the day, once you open the package, at the end of the day, once you unpack your bag and you get home from that trip, at the end of the day, once you post that video, like, what is your life really like? Who do you really have? What do you really have? What is your purpose? Like, do you really love yourself? Do you really love who you are? Like, if people ask you what motivates you every single day, do you have something that motivates you? Do you have people that motivate you? I don't know. It's just questions I've asked myself, and I wanted to create this video because, like I said, a lot of people want to become content creators, but I want people to, you know, kind of ask themselves some of these questions and think about this. And I appreciate where you are. Like, a lot of people want to be content creators, but like also appreciate not being a content creator right now, and appreciate the people you work with, and appreciate your job, and appreciate the experiences that you're having, because that's what you're going to talk about in your content. That's how you have endless amounts of content. You get what I'm saying? That's how you have endless amounts of things to talk about. Like, I don't be knowing what to talk about, y'all, because I haven't had nothing to really talk about since I was a teenager. I haven't experienced much since I was a teenager. And I'm about to be 24 years old. Like, talk about a lackluster of life. And so I tell people, and I know sometimes it's hard coming from certain messengers, like, girl, it's easy for you to say, and da 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 da. But I just feel like there's so many benefits to like not being where you want to be in life. Like, there's so many things that you can appreciate, and I know that sounds so cliche, and I know that sounds so whatever, but like, I wished I was here. I wished I was a full-time content creator and all of this stuff. And not saying that I thought everything, I ain't gonna lie, I did think everything was gonna be perfect, but at the same time, it's just certain things I wish I appreciated more. Like, I was so ready to leave my job and not talk to my coworkers, and I was so ready to make money, and I was so ready to move and all this other stuff. And it's like, once you get that, it's like, what? So what else? What else? Who else are you? And so I often wonder about that in my content. Like, what am I talking about, and what am I doing, and like, how do I relate to you guys? Because like, I don't, not like that. I don't see people much. You know what I'm saying? Besides me going to the store or something like that. So I don't know. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I don't know if you learned anything from this video, any insights you have, any questions you guys have about content creation, I guess, as well. You guys can comment below, and I would love to answer it if I am able to. So thank you guys so much, and have a great one.